Or it will be recorded, so if we are getting questions, I'll try and remember to repeat them so that the microphone on the computer can pick them up and those kind of things. I thought it might be handy if I start it just by using a swirl session and sort of explain what's going on in behind it for a couple of minutes for to have a look at it. So we've heard about this thing called swirl, so we do the natural step of Googling it.
So is this a swirl tutorial that you've created, or are you using
No, I'm going to grab the swirl stats ones, but I'm reasonably familiar with some of these ones. So we want to learn something in swirl, and yeah, we've got R installed already, so we have to have the swirl package installed. That will be an issue if people are using the student desktop. It's kind of complicated to install added packages with because it's a slightly locked down environment. But I've installed swirl and all of the other libraries it depends on, and I loaded the swirl library, and then I swirl. I haven't used it before. There's the, there's a few ones that they developed, but I've jumped off, and there's a few other courses on the site. Now, if you put up packages on GitHub, people can install them from there. If you provide a zip compressed download, people can install it from there as well, kind of thing. So if you've developed the teaching materials, there's a couple of ways people could download it and install it and things like that. Let's try. So, and that was one of these. So if I swirl again, I've now installed getting and pleading data, so it's on the list, and I want to group and chain data with deployer. And it really is designed for using with RStudio. It's potentially a bit unpredictable if people are using other R interfaces, just because of some of the stuff it does behaves unpredictably on some kind of computers. So it tells me to do something, and this could either be checking what I type, where I'm typing in an answer and it's comparing it against an answer, or it could be checking what I do, checking what the instruction I type does. So there's two choices there. In that case, it had already loaded the library. It might just have been checking that I typed library deployer. That one, I'm just wants us to do, actually I'll do the instruction wrong. I vaguely read it. I go, I need to put table df and I need to put my df inside it, but I missed the part about storing it in an object called cram. So I get this wrong. It does it, but then it goes, no, hang on. And sometimes there's a hint, like, that's what you should do. So you can put in hints. Now, because this is checking what I do rather than checking what I type, it does mean, providing I get to the same answer, it doesn't actually matter how I do it. So if I do the thing that's slightly disturbing to people and draw my arrow the other way, which you can do in R, you can say, no, go this way instead, then it goes, yeah, good, you know, that worked. Because it tested if I created this thing called crayon that matched the thing called crayon that it created. So that's one of the approaches you can use for this kind of thing. And, you know, wants me to type or copy and paste that command. Now I am going to just, yeah, hey, great, yeah. Some people do get a bit vexed by the level of enthusiasm that is often shown in the event of a correct answer. That is, well, you know, always the case. People wonder, what do I put if they got it right? just like in sort of multi-choice feedback kind of things. So, yeah, can sound a bit over-enthusiastic at times. So I apply a command and I'm just, once I get up to 30%, it's going to do something a little bit different. So I'm really just skipping through here. Nope. And yes, it doesn't like typos. Because it's evaluating it, you get the normal R error messages. And now it's open to script. So potentially I could be typing my responses based on the instructions I'm getting in the console. I could be typing my responses into the script, and then for testing it, it runs the script and gives me feedback on it. The main thing is I save the script when I've made changes to it, and then I run a submit command. It actually told me that in console if I bothered to read it. And then it evaluates the script. And, you know, it either worked or it didn't. It's not generally a defined level of you made this tiny mistake. It can't judge that kind of thing. Okay, that's it in operation. By the way, the single biggest mistake I've seen people make when working with scripts in Swirl is using save as rather than save. Because they save it to a new location and it is still evaluating the original copy. So if you're doing this kind of thing, I would actually suggest a warning message at the top. Use file save, not save as. Because it's evaluating that. So that is it quit? No, it wasn't quit, it was something else for leaving Swirl. Quit and, yeah. Okay, creating swirl files. Now, the John Hopkins people do say, hey, you could just copy R1s off GitHub and start with those, because they are text files of problem, result, you got it right or wrong, that kind of thing. And in the Swirl website, there is the teaching part. Hey, you're an instructor. Does suggest Swirlify as well as Swirl. You don't have to use Swirlify, but it does make it a lot easier for managing the text files. You could just write a lot of text files. So, jumping over, install packages. swirlify. Now, just to stop spreading files too much, I'm going to pick a working directory to work in. Okay, so I've got a working directory somewhere and I am set to it. And I can get underway with, if I've loaded swirlify, just saying, start it off. And call it basically, I could edit this text file directly. It is in a thing called yet another markup language, YAML, where what it is, colon, what goes there, kind of thing. And that is one option. The only thing about YAML is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is it can be a bit sensitive to indentation. That's the trap there. If you start swapping between computers and they have a different way of indenting, I've seen people get into trouble with that. But the alternative is actually this swirlify package where pauses, and it was I think from here with it open I can just go swirlify. Yep. And what it's done is it's using Shiny, the web interface, to edit the text file by filling out a form for what I want to put into it. So, message. Hey, welcome. Add, all right. There's now a text thing, and then they get hey, welcome, ... They click it and continues. If I want to test a command, then I've got, for the correct answer, putting in the command to test is an expression, or just putting in a answer value that they're calculating, and something to tell them about what it is, output in there, and potentially a hint. So can they figure out it's 2? And I click make answer test from correct expression, so it's going, if they work it out as 2, life is good. Add question. And it puts it in. Once again, there is a form for a script that you provide as the template for part of it with a particular name. Then basically it runs a source command on that script. It runs through the script and that generates something at the end of it, so we compare the details of it. And you've got things like, do you want to actually put in a multiple choice? Do you just want a figure to show them a graph or something like that in the course of it? video or things like that. Now, I can click Save Lesson for saving it back to the text file. I can click Demo Lesson. And in theory, hey, welcome. 1 plus 1, 3. This university thing. Okay, maybe 2. Yeah, hey, great! You're done.
Vacations.
Oh, so it puts up those things automatically.
Yeah, I have a feeling you can customize the behaviour a bit.
No, I love it.
So ultimately,
It's very encouraging.
what's gone on the computer while I was creating that is on the desktop I created, was it on the desktop? I thought it was on the desktop. Let's look around for a minute. Okay. I'm just going to jump in. Yeah, it is on the desktop. Why am I not seeing it on the desktop? Okay, a little bit of a computer mystery today, but in theory, I actually see that folder called example, and in it was the folder of the course I was creating with the individual lesson. That was that text file inside the course. And so for getting it out to students, I could potentially load it up onto GitHub. There's an install course from GitHub command inside swirl, so they type that and it downloads it. Then it's available to anyone in the world. There is, put it on GitHub, download a zip compressed version, and there is an install, the zip compressed version that loads in the file. And equally well, there is zip compressing it and sticking it on a web learning management system. And then people install it from there. But if people are using it from the student desktop, you'd need to have swirl installed as a package on the student desktop, and you might as well get your lesson installed at the same time there. So
So it's no problem to request that swirl be
I
installed as a
can't
package
see
with their build.
any problem with it whatsoever. It doesn't actually use any of the complex we're running raw code kind of things that they might get tetchy about, but I haven't actually talked to them, so I would see no problem with that myself.